Does the Constitution guarantee the right to legal counsel for all criminal defendants in state courts? To find out, you have to read Gideon versus Wainwright, but it's 12 pages. Don't have time for that? I've got you covered. This is Too Long Didn't Read, where normally I cover New York Court of Appeals cases in 5 minutes or less, but this is part of a special series on landmark cases. This episode is on the United States Supreme Court case of Gideon versus Wainwright, 372 U.S. 335, 1963. It is a case every American should know. Decided on March 18, 1963, this Supreme Court decision addressed the crucial aspect of the American justice system. Whether indigent defendants in state courts have the right to legal representation by counsel, the background that is helpful to understand this case is the Sixth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That section states, "In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense." Before Gideon, however, this right was not consistently applied across all states, especially when it came to those who couldn't afford a lawyer. The prevailing thought was that state-appointed lawyers were only required in capital cases, meaning cases where a conviction results in the possibility of the death penalty. This left many poor defendants to navigate the complexities of the legal system on their own. So, what are the facts of this case? In 1961, Clarence Earl Gideon, a man with an 8th grade education, was arrested in Florida for breaking and entering a pool hall. Unable to afford a lawyer, Gideon requested that the court appoint one for him. But in Florida, the practice was for judges only to appoint lawyers in capital cases. His request was denied, leaving him to represent himself at trial. With no legal training, he was at a significant disadvantage. He had to defend himself, even though he didn't know the legal jargon or the legal procedures involved in a criminal trial. Gideon, despite his best efforts, was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison. His lack of legal knowledge and resources had sealed his fate. This case wasn't just about a pool hall break-in. It was about a system that seemed to stack the deck against the poor. It highlighted the glaring inequalities in the legal system, where justice often depended on one's ability to pay for a competent defense. The procedural history here involved an appeal to the Florida court, claiming deprivation of his constitutional rights. He claimed he was being unlawfully detained in a habeas petition. The Florida Supreme Court denied the habeas petition. Gideon then handwrote his appeal to the United States Supreme Court, which they agreed to take up. The holding in this case was unanimous and instantly altered the legal landscape all over the country. The Supreme Court ruled, decides, everyone deserves a lawyer. In a unanimous decision, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Gideon, overturning his conviction. The court held that the Sixth Amendment's guarantee of counsel is a fundamental right essential to a fair trial, and that this right applied to the states through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. This meant that states were required to provide lawyers to indigent defendants in all criminal cases, not just capital cases. The impact of Gideon versus Wainwright was immediate and far-reaching, reshaping the landscape of the American legal system. The landmark decision led to the appointment of public defenders across the country, fundamentally changing how justice is administered. This ensured that even those who couldn't afford a lawyer would have access to legal representation, leveling the playing field in courtrooms nationwide. Gideon's case stands as a testament to the power of one person to challenge injustice and bring about meaningful change, inspiring countless others to fight for their rights. It serves as a stark reminder that a fair and just legal system requires ensuring everyone has access to adequate legal representation regardless of their financial means. This principle is fundamental to the integrity of our judicial process. It's a case that reminds us that justice is not a privilege reserved only for the wealthy. This case was a significant step toward realizing the goal of our national pledge, that the criminal justice system provide liberty and justice for all. If you like what you just saw and want to see more just like it, please hit like or subscribe to let me know.